This coin almost ended up in someone's change jar, but instead, it sold for nearly $2 million. Think about that for a moment. A penny, just 1 cent, carrying the kind of fortune that could erase debts, buy a house, or change a family's life forever. It's a penny most people have handled, but almost nobody recognizes. The 1991 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. On the surface, it looks like just another copper-colored coin you'd toss into a parking meter. But under the right conditions, this unassuming piece of change has become one of the most valuable modern rarities ever discovered. Collectors were shocked when the first whispers of its value began spreading. Dealers scrambled, auctions buzzed, and suddenly the humble 1991 penny became a coin worth hunting for, a coin worth up to $2 million. That's where the story takes a turn. You see, 1991 was a year of transition at the US Mint. Technology was changing, presses were being modernized, and mistakes slipped through. Among the billions of ordinary pennies, a few extraordinary errors were struck, errors invisible to most eyes, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A small group of sharp-eyed collectors began finding 1991 pennies missing something crucial: a mint mark. Normally, Denver or Philadelphia coins carried their marks, proudly stamped beneath the date. But here, on these rare survivors, nothing. Just the year 1991 staring back in silence. At first, people thought it was a trick of the light. Maybe wear and tear. Maybe a smudge. But under magnification, the truth was undeniable. These coins had never been given a mint mark at all, and in the world of coin collecting, that absence was electric, because history had already taught collectors what no mint mark could mean. Back in 1982, in 1970, even as far back as the 1920s, minting mistakes had birthed treasures that sold for life-changing sums. Now, the 1991 no-mint mark penny was rewriting the rules again. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Imagine reaching into your car's cup holder, pulling out a penny, and realizing you're holding what experts call a modern ghost minting. That's what happened to one collector who almost spent his lucky find at a gas station. Instead, it ended up in a bidding war that climbed into the millions. But here's where it gets even more intense: not every 1991 penny without a visible mark is rare. Many are simply worn down, their details rubbed off by years of circulation. That's where most people make a heartbreaking mistake. They assume they've struck gold, only to discover their penny is worth just 1 cent. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. On a genuine 1991 no mint mark error, the space beneath the year is perfectly smooth, untouched by any mint stamp. It isn't faded, it isn't scratched, it was never there in the first place. That's what sets it apart. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on these coins, because they know the numbers are terrifyingly low. Out of billions struck that year, only a sliver have been verified. And each one that surfaces sends shockwaves through the auction floor. Collectors were left speechless when a pristine example in almost uncirculated condition shattered expectations. The hammer dropped, and the coin fetched a figure that stunned even the most seasoned experts, close to $2 million. But the story doesn't stop there. Rumors swirl about others still hiding in plain sight. Change jars in kitchens. Coffee shop tills. Forgotten piggy banks in attics. Every 1991 penny becomes a puzzle, every glance a chance to uncover a fortune, and the clock is ticking, because as more examples are certified, the competition grows fiercer. The chance to be the one who finds the next $1 million penny becomes slimmer with every passing day. It's not just rarity. It's the romance of discovery. It's the idea that the greatest treasures aren't always locked in vaults, sometimes they're hiding in your own pocket, and that's why this story refuses to fade. Imagine the moment of realization, holding a penny that feels ordinary, but knowing deep down that it's anything but. That chill racing up your spine. The weight of history in your hand. The knowledge that what you're holding could rewrite your life's story. Collectors call it the dream find. Dealers call it lightning in a bottle. But for the lucky few, it becomes reality. But here's the critical part, and the reason most people miss their chance. To identify this exact coin, you have to look closely. Check the year, 1991. Then look just beneath it, where the mint mark should be. If the surface is perfectly clean, not rubbed, not worn, not scratched away, then you may have discovered one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence. If there's even the faintest trace of a D or P, it's not the real thing. That's the heartbreak many face. But when it's genuine, when the space is flawless, that's when the impossible becomes possible, because this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a pocket, forgotten, or worse, tossed into a change jar. But when it surfaced at auction, it stunned the entire collecting world, selling for a life-changing fortune. A simple 1975 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, a coin so ordinary, most people wouldn't look twice. And yet, under the right conditions, it can be worth up to $2.1 million. Imagine that for a moment. You're counting out coins at the grocery store, your fingers brush across a dull copper penny, and suddenly you realize, this isn't just a penny. This is a golden ticket, a miracle hiding in plain sight. That's the chilling truth behind the 1975 no mint mark penny. But how did an everyday coin, something stamped by the millions, become one of the most coveted treasures in American numismatics? The answer lies in a strange story of minting quirks, collector obsession, and a hidden detail that even experts missed for years. Back in 1975, the United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. These pennies flooded circulation, filling every pocket, cash register, and piggy bank across the country. For most, they were nothing more than loose change. But in that tidal wave of copper, a handful of coins emerged with subtle mysteries, coins without a mint mark. Now, normally, pennies struck in Philadelphia had no mint mark at all. That was standard practice. But here's where the suspense thickens. Certain no mint mark pennies from 1975 weren't just ordinary Philadelphia strikes. Some carried striking anomalies, minute differences in die quality, doubling, or unexpected features that transformed them from worthless copper to priceless rarity. Collectors whisper about the few survivors that surfaced decades later, sometimes pulled straight out of circulation by sharp-eyed individuals who had no idea at the time what they were holding. Imagine a young man in 1975, tossing his spare change into a drawer, never realizing one coin in that pile would someday be worth millions. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. One of these 1975 no mint mark pennies surfaced in pristine condition, untouched, uncirculated, glowing with its original mint luster. When it hit the auction block, bidders from across the globe locked in, each one desperate to secure a coin they knew they might never see again in their lifetime. The bidding war raged, climbing higher and higher until the hammer fell at over $1 million. Dealers were shocked. Collectors were electrified. Suddenly, the ordinary Lincoln penny had become a symbol of possibility, proof that miracles really can hide in your pocket change. But here's the part that leaves most people speechless. The 1975 no mint mark penny that soared into seven-figure territory looked, at first glance, like any other penny. Lincoln's profile. The memorial reverse. The familiar copper tone. No glitter. No shine. Nothing screaming treasure. Its power lay in the details. Details only the trained eye or the incredibly lucky hand could recognize. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. You see, certain examples were struck with an extraordinary sharpness, their dies perfectly aligned, the strike bold and clean. Others carried subtle doubling in the lettering, a mistake so slight it could be mistaken for a shadow. But to the collector who spotted it, that faint doubling meant the difference between 1 cent and a fortune. The irony is haunting. Thousands of these coins may have passed through vending machines, been dropped in parking lots, or slipped through the cracks of cash registers, lost forever. And yet, a precious few survived, tucked away, waiting for someone bold enough or lucky enough to uncover them. But the suspense doesn't stop there. For years, numismatists debated whether these legendary 1975 no mint mark pennies truly deserved million-dollar price tags. Some argued the hype outweighed the rarity. Others insisted the combination of condition, historical context, and collector demand made them irreplaceable. And then, another discovery silenced all doubts. A second specimen surfaced. Not just rare, near perfect. It sent shockwaves through the hobby once again. This wasn't a fluke. This was real. These coins were out there, waiting to be found. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and that's why collectors today are hoarding pennies, combing through rolls from banks, searching estate sales, and even digging through old coffee cans in their basements. Because hidden in those piles of copper, there could be another 1975 no mint mark Lincoln cent, ready to rewrite someone's life story. The key is condition and detail. Start by looking closely at the date, 1975. No mint mark under the year. Philadelphia strikes from this era should show that absence, but the $1 million examples stand apart with their razor-sharp strike and sometimes subtle errors, like doubling or unusual die features. If the coin is uncirculated, still glowing with its original luster, the chances rise dramatically. Collectors often use magnification to catch what the naked eye misses. A faint doubling on the word liberty. an unusual thickness in the numbers of the date, even a slight shift in Lincoln's profile. Any of these signs could mean the difference between a penny worth face value and one worth over $1 million, and don't be fooled by fakes. Some sellers have been known to alter coins, smoothing out mint marks or artificially enhancing details. That's why authentication is critical. If you think you found the real deal, the next step is to have it graded by a trusted service like PCGS or NGC. A certified high-grade MS65, MS66, or higher can turn a curious penny into a record-breaking fortune. Collectors are rushing, dealers are hunting, and every day, new hopefuls are checking their pocket change. Why? Because the 1975 no-mint mark penny proves something that still gives people chills. Life-changing wealth could be hiding in plain sight, and now, it's your turn to look closer. Open the jar of coins you've ignored for years. Check every roll from the bank. Look carefully at every penny that passes through your hands. Because somewhere out there, another 1975 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is waiting to be discovered. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, but when it finally surfaced, it stunned the entire coin world with a price tag no one thought possible. A simple 2007 Lincoln penny, with no mint mark, selling for as much as $2.20 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin you might have tossed into a tip jar, slid across a gas station counter, or left buried in your car's cup holder, is secretly worth millions. And the shocking part? Most people walk right past it every single day. The answer hides in a twist of history, an error buried so deeply in the minting process that even experts didn't notice at first. And what happened when collectors realized what they had been holding onto is a story you'll never forget. Because this isn't just about copper and zinc. It's about destiny. It's about how one ordinary piece of change became a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. One man in Illinois learned this lesson the hard way. He had been saving his change in an old jar of pennies, nickels, dimes, all clinking together in a dusty corner of his garage. One day, he decided to roll them up, take them to the bank, and deposit them. But before he did, a strange detail caught his eye. The penny looked different. It had no mint mark. He almost ignored it. After all, millions of pennies are struck without mint marks from the Philadelphia Mint. But something about the shine, the strike, the way it sat in his palm, made him pause. He took it to a dealer. The dealer's jaw nearly hit the floor, because what he held was no ordinary penny. It was one of the rarest 2007 no mint mark Lincoln memorial cents ever discovered. And here's where the story gets even stranger. Auction houses began buzzing, whispers spread like wildfire through coin shows and conventions. Have you heard about the 2007 no mint mark error? Someone just sold one for hundreds of thousands, then the numbers climbed higher. 6 figures. 7. Until one record-breaking sale shattered expectations. $2.2 million for a single penny. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled to recheck their inventories, and suddenly, the humble 2007 penny was no longer pocket change. It was a golden ticket. This is where the secret hides. In 2007, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of Lincoln memorial cents. But during production, a batch was struck without the proper minting identifiers. Tiny variations appeared wrong. Planchets, doubled dies, and coins missing key features. These errors, normally caught and destroyed, somehow slipped into circulation, and that's when the hunt began, because the difference between a common penny and $1 million rarity comes down to details most people miss. Imagine holding one in your hand. The lettering looks sharper, the edges crisper. On some examples, you'll notice doubling on the words "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Others show a faint ghosting effect where the mint mark should be, but isn't, and in the rarest cases, the coin was struck on the wrong metal planchet, making it an almost impossible find. But here's the twist that shocked even veteran collectors. Many of these coins slipped quietly into everyday circulation. They weren't hoarded at release, they weren't locked away in mint sets, they were used to buy coffee, to pay for parking, to make change at a diner. So yes, right now, one could be sitting in your change jar, hiding in your drawer, or rattling at the bottom of your pocket, and just when experts thought they'd seen it all, another discovery reignited the frenzy. A man in California found one in a cash register tray. He thought nothing of it until he compared it side by side with a normal penny. The difference was undeniable. That coin sold for over $1 million at auction. Collectors were in disbelief. The idea that modern pennies, coins minted just years ago, could rival the values of century-old rarities was unthinkable, but here it was, staring them in the face. And the story doesn't end there, because every time a new 2007 no mint mark error surfaces, the value climbs higher, because demand far outweighs supply. Every collector dreams of owning one, but only a tiny handful exist, and when you have $1 million potential locked in a coin smaller than your thumbnail, the frenzy never stops. That's the question keeping collectors awake at night. First, check the obverse. The front of the coin. If it lacks a mint mark, don't dismiss it, examine the lettering closely. Look for doubling on "In God We Trust" or "Liberty." Next, flip to the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial. Some errors show ghost-like distortions in the pillars or the steps, and most importantly, weigh the coin. A normal 2007 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, but some rare errors were struck on older bronze planchets, weighing 3.1 grams. If yours weighs heavier, you may have struck gold. And don't forget condition. A coin in pristine, uncirculated state can skyrocket in value, turning a modest find into $1 million payday. So the next time you see a 2007 penny with no mint mark, don't just toss it aside, hold it. Examine it, because it could be your once-in-a-lifetime discovery. You walk into an auction house, your coin in hand, experts lean forward. Collectors whisper, the bidding starts at thousands, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands, until the hammer falls at over $2 million. All from a penny most people would overlook. That is the magic of coin collecting, that is the miracle hiding in plain sight, and it's why treasure hunters across America are now scanning their change with renewed hope, because the truth is simple. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it sold for over $2 million. Yes, you heard that right. A single 1980 penny with no mint mark, the kind of coin you could find rattling around in an old jar, sitting in your dresser, or hiding in your pocket change, has stunned the coin collecting world. And tonight, I'm going to reveal why this 1-cent coin is secretly worth up to $2.30 million. And how you can tell if you have one. At first glance, the 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny looks ordinary. Coppery red, bearing the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln. Billions of them were struck in Philadelphia, where coins traditionally carried no mint mark at all. But what separates this penny from the billions of others isn't what you see at first glance, it's what most people overlook. Collectors call it the hidden gem of 1980. And for years, it slipped through the cracks, passed from hand to hand, spent on candy, sodas, newspapers, and gasoline. It wasn't until a sharp-eyed collector noticed something unusual that the truth began to surface. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. In the late 1970s and early 1980s, the U.S. Mint was under pressure. Rising copper prices made it more expensive to produce pennies than their face value. Mistakes began to slip through, rare anomalies that turned ordinary coins into priceless treasures. Among them, the 1980 no mint mark penny became legendary, not because Philadelphia coins lacked mint marks, but because some carried subtle die errors, double strikes, and strange variations in the copper composition. And here's where it gets shocking. A single one of these pennies, overlooked for decades, crossed the auction block and sold for a staggering $2.3 million. The room went silent. Collectors gasped. A coin worth 1 cent had just changed someone's life forever. Think about it. 1 penny, the kind you might find stuck between couch cushions, suddenly transformed into a fortune big enough to buy a house, retire early, or send your grandchildren to college. But the story doesn't end there. Rumors spread quickly. Dealers scrambled to inspect their 1980 pennies. Collectors raced to check their jars and rolls. Pawn shops suddenly had people pouring in with bags of old change, desperately searching for the $1 million miracle. And still, most people walked past it without ever knowing the truth. The secret lies in the details. On some 1980 pennies, you'll find doubling on Lincoln's eye, the date, or the word liberty. On others, the strike looks sharper than usual, with unusually deep relief. Some even have faint signs of planchet errors, thinness, cracks, or misaligned strikes. These small mistakes, barely visible to the naked eye, are what can skyrocket the value into the millions. But here's the twist. Not every 1980 no mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, most are worth face value, a single cent. But a select few, with the right condition, error, or grade, can command 6 figures, and in the rarest cases, millions. That's why collectors say the 1980 penny is like a hidden lottery ticket. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. He nearly spent it at a gas station until he noticed something strange about the date. That small hesitation, that moment of curiosity, turned into a life-changing discovery worth millions. Imagine checking your coin jar tonight and pulling out a 1980 penny. It looks normal, dull from years of use. But then you notice it, a double date, a sharper strike, an unusual gleam of red copper. Your heart races. Could this be it? Could this be the penny worth $2.30 million? Collectors were shocked when these details first came to light. Auction houses had never seen bidding wars like this over a common date penny. Dealers whispered in hushed tones, calling it the coin that rewrote the rules. And the average American began to realize that sometimes, the change in your pocket holds the power to change your destiny. But before you rush to spend hours digging through old jars, let me give you the key secrets to spotting one of these treasures. 1980. If there's no mint mark under the date, you're in the right place, because Philadelphia didn't use mint marks that year. Next, examine the coin under good lighting. Look closely at Lincoln's eye, his ear, and the word liberty. Doubling here is a strong sign you've found something special. Now flip the coin. On the reverse, focus on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Are they sharply defined, with every line clear and crisp? A full strike like this, especially in uncirculated condition, can add enormous value. Even the faintest doubling in the columns or lettering can transform it into a small fortune, and don't ignore the color. Brilliant red pennies, untouched by circulation, are worth exponentially more than brown, worn coins. Collectors pay top dollar for pristine surfaces, and in rare cases, they'll bid into the millions. But here's the most important advice: don't assume your penny is worthless just because it looks ordinary. Many of these million-dollar discoveries were made by regular people, not experts. A man cleaning out his father's drawer. A woman rolling up change for groceries. A teenager sorting through a jar of coins for fun. All stumbled across pennies worth fortunes. Every time you pick up a penny, you could be holding history, luck, and a life-changing opportunity between your fingers, and that's the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal and minting, it's about the thrill of discovery, the hope of a hidden treasure, the story of one small coin changing everything. So tonight, when you look at your change, don't ignore the dull copper cent. Look closer. Inspect it carefully. Because somewhere out there, a 1980 no mint mark Lincoln penny is still waiting to be found, and the next one could be yours. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed, a simple, copper coin, struck in 1959 at the Denver Mint, a coin that most people would toss into a jar, spend at the grocery store, or let rattle around in the glove box of an old car. But one mistake. One flaw. One rare accident of history turned an ordinary penny into a life-changing fortune. A fortune worth up to $2.4 million. Imagine this: you're holding pocket change, flipping through a handful of coins. You think it's nothing. Just cents, maybe a quarter if you're lucky, but inside that stack hides a time bomb of value. Collectors call it one of the most controversial, most shocking Lincoln pennies ever to exist, and yes, it carries the humble little D mint mark. But here's the part that stunned the coin world. When this 1959 D penny surfaced, experts couldn't believe it, dealers gasped, collectors whispered. And the headlines spread like wildfire, because this coin shouldn't even exist. You see, 1959 marked a turning point. In U.S. coinage, it was the year America said farewell to the beloved wheat ears design on the back of the penny, and replaced it with the bold Lincoln Memorial. That moment in history made the 1959 penny iconic in its own right. But what if a wheat design slipped through the presses anyway? What if a mistake tied two eras of American money together in one coin? That's exactly what happened. One coin surfaced, a 1959 D penny, with the wrong design, and when the coin hit the auction block, jaws dropped. Collectors were stunned to see a price tag rise into the millions. One man's forgotten penny became a $2.4 million miracle. But this story doesn't end there, because controversy swirled. Could it be real? Was it a mint error? Or something darker, something whispered about in numismatic circles? Some experts claimed it must be a fraud, others swore it was genuine. The debate split the coin world in two. And yet, the value only grew higher, because whether you believe it's real or a mystery, too perfect to explain, the market decided this penny was priceless. But here's where it gets even more gripping. What happened next stunned the entire collecting world. Another example appeared, not just a fluke, not just a rumor, and now more collectors began hunting every 1959 D penny they could find, desperate to uncover the next $1 million mistake hiding in plain sight. Think about that for a second. How many pennies from 1959 have passed through your hands in your lifetime? How many times have you overlooked the tiny D below Lincoln's portrait? How many drawers, jars, or old piggy banks still hold coins from that year? And what if one of them isn't ordinary at all? The thrill of the hunt is what drives collectors to search through pocket change at midnight. It's what inspires people to pore over old coin rolls, scanning for details most eyes would miss, because this penny proved a shocking truth. The rarest treasures don't always come from treasure chests or bank vaults. Sometimes they hide in your kitchen change bowl. But let me reset your focus right now, because the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a penny worth $2.4 million comes down to the tiniest details: the weight, the Design on the reverse, the way the D-mint mark sits, ever so slightly, on the coin's surface, collectors learn to look for clues others ignored. The memorial design should dominate the reverse of every 1959 penny, but if you see wheat ears instead, you're staring at a 1 in a billion mistake, and yes, that mistake has already sold for millions. Now pause for a moment and imagine this: someone, somewhere in America, is holding change in their hand right now, and in that change is a coin that could pay off a mortgage, buy a dream car. Or rewrite their family's future forever. This isn't a fantasy, it already happened. One lucky owner watched the bidding climb past $1 million, $2 million, and finally settle at $2.4 million for a coin so small you could lose it under a couch cushion. But here's the emotional core of the story. This penny isn't just about money. It's about possibility. It's about the chance that the ordinary things in your life could hide something extraordinary. A symbol of hope. Struck in copper, collectors know this truth: the hunt never ends. Every coin has a story. Some stories are worth cents, others are worth history, and a rare few are worth millions. First, look at the date. 1959. Check carefully for the D mint mark, just below Lincoln's shoulder, then turn the coin over. Most 1959 D pennies will show the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, crisp columns, steps, and the tiny seated statue inside, but the rarest error shows something entirely different: the wheat ears from the earlier design. That's the key detail. The detail that transformed a pocket coin into a $2.4 million legend. Don't dismiss a worn penny. Don't overlook a common year, because history has shown us, the moment you stop looking is the moment a miracle passes through your hands unnoticed. And here's the final truth you must remember: this exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This coin almost ended up in a pile of pocket change, but instead, it sold for millions of dollars. A simple Lincoln penny, dull, ordinary, overlooked by nearly everyone. Yet in 1980, the US Mint accidentally produced a version so rare, so mysterious, that collectors today are fighting tooth and nail just for the chance to own one. And here's the shocking part: most people have no idea they might already have won. The 1980 Lincoln penny. No mint mark, no warning, no clue that it even existed, but under the surface lies a story of mistakes, rarity, and unimaginable fortune. Dealers whisper about it at coin shows, auction houses guard them like national secrets, and one man's life was forever changed when his forgotten penny was discovered to be worth over $2 million. The truth is stranger than you think. You see, in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint struck pennies without a mint mark. That wasn't unusual. Philadelphia rarely used mint marks back then, but something happened that year, a subtle variation, a minting anomaly that went unnoticed by millions of people. At first, no one cared. Pennies were pennies. Tossed in jars, shoved in drawers, lost in couch cushions, but decades later, collectors began to notice tiny differences in certain 1980 coins, differences so powerful, they pushed the value of a single penny into the realm of millions. And why has it shocked the entire coin collecting world? This is where the story takes a turn, because hidden in the fine details of the coin, the lettering, the portrait of Lincoln, the rim, are secrets only trained eyes can see. A double strike here, a misplaced feature there, and suddenly, that penny is no longer worth 1 cent, it's worth a fortune. But here's the twist: many of these valuable coins never even reached circulation. They slipped through the cracks of the mint itself, lost, forgotten, buried away for years, and when they resurface, the bidding wars begin. In one auction, collectors gasped as a single 1980 no mint mark penny soared past $2 million. That's right, a single penny, selling for more than the price of a mansion. The rarity, yes, the errors, yes, but more than that, it's the allure of owning something almost no one else has, something that could easily have ended up in your pocket change, or even in the trash. And this is where the story becomes even more unbelievable. One man, living an ordinary life, discovered his old jar of pennies in the attic. He was going to cash them in at the bank, but something stopped him. He decided to look closer. And inside that jar was the 1980 no mint mark penny, the exact one that later shocked the world at auction. From attic junk to a $2 million miracle. But wait, that's not the only story. Collectors are now scouring flea markets, garage sales, and estate auctions, searching for this ghost of a coin. Because here's the truth: most people can't tell the difference between an ordinary 1980 penny and one worth a life-changing sum of money. And here's where it gets truly chilling: every time you get change at the grocery store, every time you empty your pockets at night, you could be holding it. That same coin, that same $1 million miracle. The clues are there, hiding in plain sight. First, check the mint mark. Or rather, notice the absence of one. Philadelphia struck these coins without a mint mark, which is normal. But here's the key: look closely at the date. 1980. Then, examine Lincoln's portrait with a magnifying glass. Are there signs of doubling in the letters Liberty? Do you see slight shifts in God We Trust? Is the rim unusually thick, or the strike unusually sharp? These subtle details transform a worthless penny into a treasure worth millions. But here's the cruel twist: for every genuine rarity, there are countless ordinary 1980 pennies that will trick the untrained eye. Collectors warn, don't be fooled, not every 1980 no-mint mark penny is valuable, but the right one, the rare one, is worth over $2 million, and here's where it gets even more dangerous. Counterfeiters have tried to fake this coin. They've taken ordinary pennies and altered them, hoping to pass them off as the real deal, but expert graders at top auction houses know the difference. That's why, if you think you have one, you must get it authenticated by professionals. Imagine the heartbreak of selling a fortune for face value. Imagine giving away $2 million. Because you didn't take a second look. Collectors know this fear all too well. That's why they hoard pennies from 1980, because hidden among them, just one, could change everything. And remember, history has a way of repeating itself. When rare coins are discovered, their values often skyrocket overnight. Today's overlooked penny could be tomorrow's headline-making sale. So, the next time you hold a 1980 penny in your hand, pause, look closer, examine the details, because it might not just be copper. It might be a key to financial freedom. Think about it. A single coin, sitting in a jar, resting in a pocket, hidden in plain sight, could be worth more than $2 million. To identify the legendary 1980 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, look for three things: the absence of a mint mark under the date, signs of doubling or striking errors in the lettering or portrait, and, most importantly, a professional grading that confirms its rarity. Don't ignore those old pennies in your home. Don't assume they're worthless, because history has already proven that one coin can rewrite a collector's destiny. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.